grateful for that time. And you know, when we heard through the grapevine, A, that it was coming back, and that's when I went, yeah, but probably not with us. Big old, nobody wants Mo anymore. When I heard that Steven Spielberg actually went to bat in the pitch meetings, he pitched them himself.
It was his call.
He laid out 4 8x10s of our actual faces. He said, "These are our stars. We don't go ahead with the show without them." And that was, you know, and he had in his mind, it's not because we're such great guys and he likes us and we're, you know, I mean, he does like us and we are great guys. But his thinking was, you know, I'm doing this to give people back a piece of their childhoods. And so if I'm going to do that, let me do it all the way. So, I mean, because it's jarring when you see a show come back, a reboot, and it's like, well, those aren't the voices. I mean, when I was a kid, and I was a kid in the early 60s, when of necessity, Barney Rubble's voice changed because Mel Blanc was nearly killed in a car accident. It still threw me when Dawes Butler took over the part. I was like, wait a second, that's not Barney.
Yeah.
Although my voice wasn't that deep yet because I was 4. That's not Barney. You know, and you know that. So for him to want to preserve the show, the sound of the show, and have the original performances, the original actors play it, was great foresight on his part because the show was met with great critical acclaim, and I think we did well. It's just that you know, the in terms of viewership, but the what's it called? The thing that happened. The thing that happens with a computer.
Hulu?
Oh, the algorithm.
Algorithm.
I don't know why. You know, we didn't beat the algorithm in some way, shape, or form, which is why we, you know, got. You know, we got to stop. We were all hoping, including Wellesley Wild, our new EP, was like, man, we're going 7 seasons of this. We were sure we were going to get to do that, but you know, we got your 36 episodes of Animaniacs with 35 Pinky and the Brains, and you know, so that's new stuff.
That is an insane flex to say that Steven Spielberg co-signed it and advocated for you. How was the process kind of going from Animaniacs and then going into your own show?
Oh, back in the late '90s. Yeah. Well, what you feel this one? I've been yapping.
You're the brain, far away.
I remember feeling like, I wouldn't say the weight, but certainly the import of the idea that we were going to be the lead show on only their second night. They launched the WB, you know, slowly. So they had Wednesday nights first, or Tuesday nights, Wednesdays. I mean, and you would know, working for the WB in its day, and thank you, that Sunday night was going to be their next, you know, we were going to be the flagship show. So they were very nice. They gave us raises because they were like, okay, you're in prime time now. Here's some money, but we were carrying the 7 o'clock half hour.
Hang on a second now. 7 o'clock on Sunday night, is that right? Let's see, what else is on? If you're going to be put on opposite a show, that is not the show opposite which you prefer to be placed.
Yes. On the other hand, it is the show to be put opposite, so that you go, well, how could we have won?
Yeah.
You know, what shot did we have?
We can suck and have a good logical reason.
Well, we could also have a brilliant show, and I think we did. And of course, we only lasted the 22 episodes, and we were back in daytime. So that was right. We got our own show after Animaniacs, and but that was kind of neat. They kind of rolled out the primetime red carpet for us. We went to the launches and all that sort of thing. So it was kind of fun.
I had Godiva food pellets.
So we just met, but I do a lot of theories on cartoons, and
oh, here we go.
If you guys are okay if I share it, yeah. So it's my headcanon that Pinky's actually the genius,
yes, of course.
and he's humoring the brain. What are your thoughts on that?
That is why they call it a theory, my dear.
You're biased.
Yes. Well, let's just put it this way. Can he build an infundibulator? I rest my case.
No, and I think that it's very clear it is supposed to be ambiguous in the theme song when it says the one is a genius, the other's insane. And it's up to you to determine who that is.
And there is one episode, I think it was the episode Fly, where you're levitating like
yeah.
while I'm just pontificating about the plan, and I just turn and go, Pinky, how long have you been able to do that?
What?
You know, so there is a touch of, I think there's a touch of genius to both characters, and there's a touch of insanity to both characters, because Brain, the AA definition, if you will, of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And for Brain, that is a type of insanity. Every episode he tries, and he doesn't get it that a 2-inch tall lab mouse simply cannot take over the world. So in that way, he is insane, but he's also quite intelligent.
Thank you. Art does not imitate life, I promise you.
I was going to ask.
No, I actually think you're in the pantheon of the Rob and Mo show. You are the genius.
Well, I definitely showed today with my Pantheon, and I'm glad
Thank God you showed up with your pantheon.
That would have been, the whole front
That
row would have been
been-
out of their mind.
That's despicable.
So we don't have to worry about you two trying to take over the world. Is what you're
No,
saying.
I think you're.
No, if Maurice succeeds, we got no show.
That's
So
true. Yeah,
I want to
the
keep.
show ends. We
Yeah.
can't have that. We want there always to be the possibility to come back.
I actually would love to see what the world would look like if Brain was ruling it. Like, what
If
would you
Brain
implement?
ruled the world, every man
Oh.
would have a stupid mouse for a friend.
All food pellets would be pate flavored. Yes. I don't know. I've never thought, I've never really thought about it. I guess he would eliminate cats. There we go.
So I think it's you, Maurice, who normally says your favorite role is your next role. Is it you or is it?
That's Rob.
That's
That's-
Rob.
that's-
sorry.
That's a Robism, a Paulsonism. Yeah.
So what type of, instead of what's your favorite role, what's your favorite type of characters to play?
Type? Oh gosh, honestly, I don't think I have a favorite type to play. I seem to be most comfortable with comedy and music, and that's basically the type of work I'm known for. But every actor thinks we can do anything, and we want to try anything. This form of voice acting is about acting, small v, large A. Mo and I both have live performance backgrounds, as is the case with virtually everyone who does this gig. And I came to LA ostensibly to do live action. I came from Michigan, a singer first who became an actor, and spent a lot of time traveling around the country before I moved to LA. But I was there to do what one would expect: TV, movies, music, commercials, you name it. But, as is often the case, we put ourselves in a position to get lucky. Had I stayed in Flint, no one would have been able to see, even if I could present it to someone, they wouldn't have had any power to do anything with it. So I went out there not knowing that this would necessarily be my vibe. All of a sudden I slipped into, it's my vibe. But I just wanted to work. So I got a call to read for these new shows in the mid-'80s called Transformers and G.I. Joes, and I met Charlie Adler there, and one thing led to another. And the first thing I noticed, you guys, with all these television actors I recognized from when I was a kid, Peter Bonners, Marshall Wallace, Hamilton Camp, Bob Ridgely, all these people from
they were great.
Carol Burnett and F Troop, and all these Larry Storch, all these people I recognized from television on cartoons, and it had nothing to do with anything they'd done before. They were utterly limited only by their creativity. That's acting. That's Mo says, hey, I'm gonna be the monster, you be the monster killer, and you sound like a monster killer who's gonna be Donald Duck, okay? It's literally that. So I did half a dozen of those, and then I'd keep going in and auditions for Hill Street Blues or MacGyver or St. Elsewhere or Three's Company or Night Court. And I'd walk in a room and there'd be 50 other guys who could be my cousin. And of course, that's the way it is when you're a non-celebrity talent. You're initially called because you might be the type. Your acting chops are great, but sometimes that doesn't matter. In this realm, it's about your chops. And I love that. And I'm also the incredible beneficiary of living that axiom daily in my work life, that a high tide raises all boats. If you can't get better with Mo and Nancy Cartwright and Tress and John DiMaggio and Billy West and James Arnold Taylor, Dee Brett, Corey Burton, Frank Welker, Peter, then you're not cut out for this because they're so good, and they are also the most generous of people and want you to be better. So that's a long, convoluted way of me saying, I just prefer to act. I know what seems to butter my bread, but I've done a couple of, badass characters, and I really enjoy that too. But the thing that lights me up the most is laughter and music, for sure.
I love that. I'm just gonna ask one more question. If the audience has questions, now's definitely the time to line up by the microphone. Respectfully, please, no running.
I didn't get to answer your question.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that while I concur with my esteemed colleague, I do have I find that my favorite notes to play are the curmudgeon, the annoying character. I seem to have a facility for that. I don't know why, from whence it comes in my real life, but the grumpy character is sort of a forte of mine. Yes, I can play heroes, and I like playing heroes. I took over from Kevin Bacon for the Balto sequels, and I enjoyed that very much. So I do love playing a hero and a character with a heart, but somehow those Brains and Morbos and
I was just going to say,
Grumpy from the 7D and
do you consider Morbo to be a curmudgeon?
Somewhat. Ask me how the family is.
Hey, Morbo, how's the family?
Belligerent and numerous.
There you go.
I love it. My last question is, how does it feel to impact so many people in their lives for so long?
Extremely gratifying.
Yeah.
I mean, I just in the last day and a half, just at this con, people have just said, just told us how, at least once a con, somebody tells us a story of how there was the day in their high school years, usually, where they were bullied, they were teased, made fun of, and they had thought maybe to end it all, and they put on the TV and at 4:30 and watched a Pinky and the Brain or an Animaniacs, and it made them laugh. And with that release of endorphins and that distraction from that terrible thought, they got to carry on, and they realized that they were seeking a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And now here they are, these beautiful adults with careers, and a lot of them would have been called nerds in those days. Now they're scientists, and they're helping make policy and changing the world. So it's a very gratifying feeling to know that something you've done. And I always say the same thing to each and every one of them. There were 187 people that went into the making of each episode of Pinky and the Brain, Animaniacs, whatever, and we, on behalf of all those 187 people, thank you for letting us know we helped. But we just got to be the guys that read the words into a microphone. But if that was a contribution, we were grateful to be part of it.
Yeah, it's exactly what Mo said. We don't draw them, we don't write them. It's the characters who are famous, and we get that. But we are the grateful beneficiary of all this love, and it never is not overwhelming. I had a gentleman came up to me yesterday, not unlike Mo, a little tearful, and he had a very powerful story to tell. And of course, he said the loveliest thing. and I understand why he said it. However, I had to correct him because he said, I know you hear this a lot. And I said, yeah, but it's the first time I've heard it from you. And clearly, this is a big deal. Let me tell you something, you guys. We are lottery winners. We have worked really hard for the privilege of being with you today and throughout your lives. And it's very hard to think of anybody who comes to these events who is not grateful to be here. But if you ever run into somebody and you stand in their line for an hour and you drive 2 states away and you pay whatever to get in, and that person goes, yeah, great, thank you, get out of their line. This is a privilege. Being able to have a superpower, watch this. Narf!
Get out of their line and come to our line. We'll treat you right.
That's right. Did I do well with what you told me to say, man?
Yes, Pinky.
Excellent.
Yes, and soon with enough people in our lines, I can use the infundibulator and we make them all in my sway. And then they can come over to your line and you'll do something to mess it up.
I actually have one more question.
Okay.
Is it difficult to say some of the words that Brain says? Like, I would trip over it. Do you have to practice before?
Sometimes, I mean, if there's a particularly scientific word, I'll always, before we roll, I'll go, okay, well, how's this? What's this one? But when I was a little kid, my dad he worked for a company called Franklin W. Horner Pharmaceuticals in Canada, and he was a salesman. And he would go around to all of the pharmacies and try and sell their brand of nauseant and et cetera, et cetera. So he would have the samples and I'd read them and I go, Daddy, how do I say this? He goes, that's diamond hydronate. Diamond hydronate. And I got very good at saying scientific names. I just go through all these sample packs and, it was, lysergic acid diethylamide. No, he wasn't carrying that. But I became fascinated with chemical names. So I got good at pronouncing big words. I would actually go through the dictionary looking for big words. Because I knew I wasn't smart, but I knew I could pretend to be smart if I had a really, just a quiver full of really big words. And so that seems to be, there was one season where I was playing like 4 scientific geniuses on different shows. They were all being produced concurrently. I was Egon Spengler on Real Ghostbusters. I find that extremely gratifying. Thank you. I was Brain. I was Extreme Ghostbusters. Sorry. So Egon, Brain, a character called Etno on something called Space Goose, who was also the scientist character. He sounded it out like James Mason. Good heavens. And then probably one of the more underrated shows I was on. I was a character named Dr. Splitz, who had another side named Splitsy, and that show was called Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys. Thank you to our viewer. It was created by Gordon Bressak, who was 3-time Emmy-winning writer, along with Charlie Howell of Pinky and the Brain and Animaniacs, and that show. We had Malcolm McDowell on the show. We had James Avery and Karen Murayama from The Groundlings, and Jeff Bennett was one of the first places I met Jeff Bennett. That was a treasure trove of a show. If you can find it anywhere, even if it's just on YouTube. It was good science fiction. I mean, Dorothy Fontana, who used to write Star Trek, the original series, was writing scripts for us. It was really a special show. Yeah. Anyway, so that's that. So my big word thing, it led to me always being cast as the scientific genius character.
It's definitely a superpower. I can barely say bathroom. I have to think in my head.
You call it bathroom?
Or Bethune. I say Bethune a lot.
Bethune.
Thinking about.
Norman Bethune, yes. All right, here we go.